Welcome to the Live Wealthy podcast with Dawn, where we are growing our wealth and our worth at the same time. You ready? Let's go. Today, I am lucky enough to have Mr. Chris Lee with us today. And I absolutely hate reading a bio. And so I want Chris to tell us exactly who he is and what he does for a living. So Chris, welcome to Live Wealthy podcast, and tell us a little bit about who you are.
You know, whenever I introduce myself, it really depends who's asking. And, if it's somebody locally, I'm just like, I'm unemployed, kind of try to get by with a hobby farm, that type of thing. But so I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've started many businesses throughout my life, some successful, some not. Most importantly, a family man. I have a wife, 5 kids. My oldest is 17 or almost 17. She's a junior in high school. And my youngest is 5. So those are where I like to spend as much time as possible. So I try to buy back as much time as I possibly can through leverage, through employees, through partnerships, through investments, whatever it may be. But I've in my professional career, I've experienced 2 9-figure exits, both in the solar space. I coach and consult. I also help partner and scale businesses. I run a company called the Founder Project, in which we partner and scale, and we invest funds into different businesses, and we teach them the secrets. It's me and my team that actually scaled my first business to 9 figures out of my garage. We did that in 5.5 years with 1,300 employees. And but it's not all sunshine and rainbows like that.
No.
Those are the highlights. I've had a lot of lowlights in my career. Filed bankruptcy, 12 years ago. Had less than $1,000 in my bank account. Had cars repoed right out of my driveway. I'm a college dropout.
Yes.
a little of it all.
But you know what? We got to go through some of that pain to get to the level that you're at, right? Because that's what motivates you to really do what you do and have the success that you've had since that pain, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
By the way, I just want to say I love the fact that you talked about buying back your time, being a father, a husband, you said 5 kids?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. 5 kids, multiple businesses. You literally are using your business to buy back time. And I love that because as a wealth advisor myself, I'm always like, your biggest commodity is time and money. And as we age, Chris, I think I'm a little bit older than you because I'm now an empty nester as of 2 days ago. 18 and 19-year-old daughters, they just went to college. So I'm sitting here with just my husband and we're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do this weekend? We're freaking out. But as we age, it's really about time and money, and it's balancing the two and what's the most important thing to you. And we all need money and we love money, but because it helps us solve problems and buy back our time. So I love the fact that you said that. And thank you for sharing, being an entrepreneur, which my audience, I have a lot of entrepreneurs, small business owners, network marketers that are really growing their business. And like myself, who's an entrepreneur and been in the business for the last 24 years and, want to take that business to the next level. And you have the expertise. So you're investment and growth expert, built a business in your garage, which I love. So you bootstrap it, you can figure it out, right? You don't need the fancy whatever, but if you have enough pain in your life and want to take your life to that next level, you absolutely can. And I love the fact, by the way, that you're a college dropout. I'm like one that says, even to my daughters, they just went to college. I'm like, go there to mature up a little bit and to figure out what life's really about, but you can still be successful without a college degree.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I think most people don't need a college degree. And the only reason, so yeah, and you may disagree with this, but that's okay. But I
Yep.
think the only reason you go to college is if you go and start a career and you realize that in order for me to achieve X in this career, I need to go to college. I think most kids go to college to try to figure out what they want to do. College is the worst place to figure out where you want to do. Like, go and actually work in a space, mentor under somebody, figure out, is this the career line of the career path that I want to take? I mean, there's so many artists that are stuck being dentists, and so many, people that would have made great lawyers that are working blue collar jobs. And it's just like, I think the saddest thing in the world is not finding what you were put on this earth to do.
Correct. 100% agree. That's my message. Live wealthy. Me helping millionaires build multi-million dollar portfolios. And I've been doing that for years. I found that you got to align your money to your purpose and your vision, and really understanding who you are and what you were called by God to do on this planet. Now, do we need doctors? Yes. Do I have a daughter that's going to, study biology because that's her lane? She thinks it's her lane right now. And, and so we do need that, but I hated college with a passion. I got a degree. I made up my degree in, I went to the University of Minnesota just to get a degree because I was the only one in my family that was going to have a college degree. But, I made up my degree. It was called the Bachelor's of Individual Studies. Like, I'm using 0% of that degree.
Right.
However, there is a part where, I have an 18 and 19-year-old where they don't know exactly what lane they want to be in, and it's an expensive trying to figure it out. But if they don't graduate, I'm okay with that too, as long as they are, like you said, they're aligned to their purpose and they're building their network and their net worth in alignment with who they really are. And that's the key. So let's get back to Chris. You have found how did you originally find your lane, not going to college and figuring it out? How did you learn what your purpose was?
Well, I mean, let me tell you first. I did go to college. I went to a lot of college.
Okay.
I have 165 credits. In fact, I should have a bachelor's degree. I should have those type of things. And initially, my whole drive was to go and be a doctor. I grew up in a home that we didn't have a lot of money. My dad was a school teacher. My mom was a stay-at-home mom with 7 kids. And so, my dad, the most he ever made while I was at home was like $60,000 or $65,000. And so my mom, she came from my dad kind of came from a white trash home. And so he was like kind of the pinnacle of their family. He had gone to college and done all these things. And then my mom, she came from a very completely different type of family. Her dad was a doctor from the East Coast, from the Washington, D.C. area. And so for me growing up, my mom taught me how to dream. My dad taught me how to work. And, in my mind, the only way that you made a lot of money was if you were a doctor, right? That was the one example in my life that made sense. And so every choice that I made as a young kid was, how do I become a doctor the fastest way possible? And so my junior and senior year, I did what's called a running start, where I went to college instead of high school, and graduated with the equivalent of a associate's degree. And I had started working at age 9 and was providing, what the rule in our house was, provide for everything but underwear and food on the table. At age 12, and so I was doing everything that I knew to make money, but most of it was just trading time for money. I didn't understand anything else, right? Like, I just had all kinds of different jobs. I drove tractors for farmers. I delivered oil. I worked at a pizza place. I delivered newspapers every single morning. I woke up from age 9 to 18 every morning at 4:30, 365 days a year, to go and make anywhere from $1 to $5 a day. And that taught me a lot. But it wasn't until I was 18 that I saw an advertisement at this local community college that I was attending as a senior in high school, and I saw an advertisement that said make $13 an hour guaranteed, or $13 an appointment guaranteed. And it was a little advertisement for Cutco, and going selling knives, and decided to, I'd always had the gift of gab and the ability to connect with people. So I decided to go and sell some knives on the side. And, before you knew it, I was walking indoors and walking out with a check of $1,500 and taking close to 50% of that. And I was like, man, this is like more money than I make in a month. And I could do it in an hour. And so that's where I was introduced to sales. And then I went on a mission for my church. I served a 2-year mission in Oklahoma, learned Spanish and Marshallese, actually. I speak 3 languages. And after I came home, I married my high school sweetheart at the age of 21, and started to continue down that path of becoming a doctor. And while at college, I saw an opportunity to be able to work during summers doing sales and not have to work as a married person during the school year. And like for me, that was very appealing. So I went out and I started knocking doors and selling different products. And so I went door to door for many years. And that's where I really learned the grind, learned how to sell, learned the hustle, learned marketing, sales, presentations, everything. And my second summer doing that, in a 3-month period, I made $105,000. And
Wow.
I'm like, there's something to this, right? Like this whole sales thing is pretty cool. And I'm going down this path of becoming a doctor, and I'm going to go to school for the next 10 years with fellowships and all these different things. And I'm just like, the average family practitioner makes 120 grand a year, and the average like outside, like a specialist, is like 250. And I'm going to go in $300,000 in debt, 10 years of no income, opportunity sunk cost. And I'm just like, do I want to do this? And finally I had a professor that really changed my life. And what he said, you can save more lives by running a successful business than you can ever being a doctor. And that, for whatever reason, that hit me pretty hard. And because, I wanted to make a lot of money, but I wanted to help people. And so that was like why being a medical doctor just appealed to me so much. But like he really opened up like the vision that like, man, I can change and impact so many lives if I go and run a successful business, and I can make a buttload of money, and I can do it without investing the next 10 years of college or at school. And so that's what I decided to do at age 24. Was I 24? Let me see. Yeah. Age 24, I dropped out of my senior year of college. I was taking the MCAT and decided that it wasn't for me anymore. I started my first business, and thought I could go and take on the world. And 2 years later, so I raised money from the only people that I knew that had any type of money. My father-in-law, he was a successful dairy farmer. I got him as an investor. He put $1 million into my business. And I got my dad, who was a school teacher, once again. He put half of his life savings into my business. And that was in 2008. And
we already know where this is going, right? 2008.
2008, and I was just young, hungry, and stupid, and just blind to all the macroeconomics of everything that was happening around me. I was on fire because I thought I knew everything and could go. Like up until that point, everything that I put my effort into, I'd been massively successful, right? Relationships, investing, business, like everything. And so go and launch a business, try scaling way too fast. And in 2010, we're in extreme trouble, can't make payroll. I'm floating payroll on credit cards. I'm going to a buddy that's can process my credit card, and he's giving me the cash back, less fees. I'm doing everything to protect my credit, to protect the people that I've built this business for. And to my dismay, it just wasn't possible. And I had two business partners that completely bailed on me during this time and weren't willing to like grind with me. And eventually it just came to the point where, I started getting phone calls from creditors. My bookkeeper was embezzling money and wasn't paying our bills, and like just all kinds of craziness. And so January 2011, I filed bankruptcy for $2.2 million. Had my car repoed out of my driveway. Had and I had to have some really, really, really sad conversations, like going and talking to my father-in-law and be like, I lost it, it's gone. And I really have no idea how I'm going to pay you back. I know I will pay you back. I have no idea how I'm going to pay you back. So that was a tough time. But the coolest thing I learned during that experience was that, like, most of us as entrepreneurs, as people that are going and trying to take risk and facing our fears, we create this big monster of what failure is going to look like. And we think it's just going to be, I'm going to be living in my in-laws' basement. I'm going to be doing this, that, or the other, whatever, right? And the thing I realized, like, even though it was like the worst moment of my life, it really wasn't that bad. Like, I still had my faith in God. I still had my family. I still had all the skills that I had built up until that point. I didn't lose any of that. And so I knew exactly what mistakes I had made up until that point, and I knew exactly how to fix it. I just couldn't in the moment. I didn't have the money to fix it, right? And so, glory to the United States government that allows us to be able to start from a clean slate. And I apologize to my creditors and everything else, but man, it was where we were at. And so, going through that, started from the bottom and just immediately launched another business. And during that time, I had a lot of people begging me, go back to school, go get a real job, go be a doctor, go do the safe route. And, I contemplated that for a minute, but I knew that, like, that would be such a waste of the effort that I had put into this moment. Like, I'd spent all this money and other people's money to learn this lesson. And if I just go back and crawl into the safe zone, like, man, it was all for naught. And so immediately started launching businesses, and I tried everything. Like, I'm talking flipping cars, like buying wrecked cars, fixing them, flipping them. Same with houses. I owned beehives and cattle. I started a coupon book. I did medical pendants. I had an alarm company. I invested in a pest control company. I started a search engine optimization business. I consulted. I coached.
Whoa.
I did it all because I needed to figure out, like, I needed to open up as many doors and find which one had the right path. And so, I spent the next few years doing that, and I had some successes, and sold off a couple companies for minimal. But then I realized I don't know how to scale. I don't really know business. I'm a great salesperson. I'm a great value creator. I know how to, like, identify opportunity, but I have no idea how to operate and scale a business. And so I spent between 2012, middle of 2012 to end of 2016, I went and did what I call paid education, where I went and I figured out who the best people were to work for that I wanted to mentor under, and I worked my way into their organizations and worked my way up the ladder to be able to mentor underneath them. And most of it was in the door-to-door space, in which I ran big door-to-door companies and different things like that. And I would go, and I was making $500,000 a year. It was fantastic. It was a good way to rebound from bankruptcy. My credit was still shot, so I was having to pay for, like, because nobody would sell me a house. I had to rent, and I have to pay 12 months in advance because my credit was so bad, just all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I learned so much, and over those 4.5 years, I experienced 2 different IPOs. And I was very close to, like, one of them was, the night before I was on the phone with the CEO, when we were going public, and the other one I was on Wall Street the day that we went public. And, I just had a phenomenal experience of, like, learning how to scale and build businesses under incredible mentors.
And that happened. I mean, the real success has happened in the last 7 years for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, all my true financial success has been in the last 6 years. Like,
Okay.
and I mean, up until then, I'd make good money, but I invested some money and whatnot, but it wasn't like, oh, Chris is killing it. Like, I had a nice house, I had a nice car, I had a few things, but it wasn't like Chris is the guy I want to be like, right?
Right, right. So let's take a step back. You did go and get educated just in a different way. You got educated by being around people that you looked up to and they were your mentors and you learned from them how to really grow, invest, and scale companies.
Exactly. I'm a huge believer in education, not traditional
Yes.
education. I'm a huge believer in like I got to go and learn as much as possible. I've done all the unconventional education routes. I've read a ton of books, paid for tons of seminars, coaching, consulting, masterminds, like everything. Like I am dedicated to spending as much of my money as possible on personal development. I'm over $1 million into masterminds and coaches at this point, and so because I understand that like real education is everything that I need. Mentors, like not these sages that went to college, got a doctorate, and come back and teach us. Like
Yes.
I'm talking about people that have
Yes.
actually done it.
Yes, that rolled up their sleeves and got dirty and know how to do the work. I 100% agree with you on that. And yeah, so maybe you've spent $1 million in the right education, but look at what it's done for you financially with how you're spending your time, which that's what we started with. So let me ask you, because this is so interesting to me and I couldn't agree with you more on all of this. Let me ask you, so, I mean, there's been a lot of highs, there's been a few lows, but you needed the lows to get to the highs. Mm-hmm. Like what, with you being able to take, I mean, these, like when you're talking about the beehive business and the flip the cars and like all of the things, like nobody really wants to do that, right? So you actually did the things that nobody wanted to do just to make some money to prove that you can do it. And you got mentored. Like now you've been able to scale and exit, businesses. I mean, we're talking 9 figures plus. So what have you found with like from your failure originally in 2010 to being able to not have these failures? Like what are these, like maybe 1 or 2 critical elements that you recognize in businesses that you needed to get educated on and to be able to turn these businesses so they didn't go bankrupt, but they actually were able to scale into this 9-figure plus opportunities? Like what are the critical elements that you found?
I mean, there's so many things that I've learned. I think one of the most important thing for any business owner is to be transparent. We lack a ton of transparency in the business world. A lot of times, owners and executive teams or whatnot, they kind of hide behind the scenes of what actually is happening with the business, and their employees just have no idea what's going on. And transparency is the number one factor in a great culture, right? Like really getting your people to buy into everything that is actually happening. Like, so when my first business failed, nobody knew it was failing, right? Like, I was covering that crap up as much as possible, right?
Sure.
Like I was living this lie. I was living this lie that I was successful, that everything was going. And it wasn't really until like the doors closed and my car was repoed that it was like, boom, what? Wait, like how did Chris go from running this really successful business to nothing versus like getting the buy-in from your people that like, hey, we're in tough times. We're struggling. We need you to come in. And so, building a culture of team was probably one of the biggest things that I learned from Todd Peterson. Todd Peterson was the CEO and founder of Vivint. He founded 2 different companies that went public. One had a $10 billion valuation, the other one like a $4 billion valuation. And I had the opportunity to work with him and work very closely, and he's become a friend of mine. But Todd, during the '08 crash, he could not afford to make payroll. Like there was a time that so in the summer sales industry, they have what's called a back end check. You work during the summer and you have this big back end check, less all your cancellations of whatever you sold, that comes in February. And he couldn't make that check. And so he got up in front of everybody and told everybody what was going on. He said, look, we're struggling right now. We're not able to raise money from banks. They're calling our loans due. They're doing this, that, and the other. And he said, I believe that we are going to go and accomplish X, but the only way we get there is I need you guys on board. And I want to give you an opportunity. You don't have to take it, but I want to give you an opportunity to invest your back-end check into equity in the business. And then he laid out the plan of how they were going to get through and how to make it through these difficulties. And you know what? The majority of his people, they sacrificed their back-end check in exchange for stock in the business. And this was like millions and millions and millions of dollars. And because of that, they made it through. And because of that, every single person that invested their money made 10 to 20 times what they put into it. Like it was such an example. That didn't happen while I was there. It actually happened before I worked at Vivint. And for me, but that was just such an example of like, man, that is how you run a business. And you're going to be willing to be transparent. And the one thing I've learned in life is like, own your weaknesses, own your strengths. Tell people how to work with your weaknesses. Don't try fixing your weaknesses. Like don't like, I think it's such a bad guru thing. Like, hey, let's turn your weaknesses into strengths. No, take your strengths and make them stronger and
absolutely
and outshine your weaknesses. But tell people this is how you work with me. This is how you like, and the same thing goes for a business, right? Like this is like, if you do not have a point of truth that you can operate from, meaning this is what we struggle with, this is where we're screwing up, this is where we got this, that, and the other, you can't change, right? Like if you're living like, oh, it's perfect, the KPIs are on point, this, that, or the other, like you can't make change off of that. And so that's one way that I've always built culture in my businesses is like, look, I don't expect perfection. I expect excellence, and excellence is the pursuit of perfection. Like screw up, mess up, be weak. I don't care as long as you're truthful about it and we have a point in which we can improve. And so like those are like some of the main things in like just building culture, building core values, building missions, like getting people excited, bought in, sharing in equity with your people and truly sharing, because there's two things that people will bleed for within any organization. One is culture and two is a piece of the upside. If you can figure out how to get those two things to anybody within your organization, you'll be able to build a 1,300 person organization like I did.
Totally agree with you. As a business owner myself for 24 years, the same thing. I started getting really good employees when I put in the core values of the company and always transparent with the numbers, and also being able to, like, I let my team, my staff have what we call a live wealthy schedule, where I give them autonomy. Like I'm about results. I'm about, again, I make mistakes all day long. So does all the employees. And it's like being all comfortable, right? Admitting those mistakes, but then also letting them be adults and letting them own a portion of their schedule and their business and their results. And when you give ownership, and it's not this mommy and daddy at the CEO level and everyone's kid, are the children. It's like, no, we're all working, this organization chart isn't linear. It's not vertical, right? It's a circle, and we all are working for the same goal. So I love the fact that you shared that. And I also love the fact that you shared with the strengths, because I'm 100% on board with that too. It's get better with your strengths and understand your weakness. Understand, because we all have them. We all have them. And when you're able to admit them, your self-esteem grows, and you also know that you need to hire around those weaknesses, right?
That's right.
Because we're all not good at everything. So like you, Chris, I don't know if you've ever done the Strengths Finder. I'm a woo. I love winning people over. Like you're in sales, right? And we love serving. You got emotional when you talked about being able to serve others, and I couldn't be more in alignment with that. So my question is for you, because I'm so into like all of the things you're saying, like a spiritual connection first and foremost. You're a family guy. I'm a family mom. Like having God first, your family second, and then wanting to financially succeed. I mean, that's my version of living wealthy too. It's like we need the financial success because it opens up opportunity to serve more.
That's
right? Because we only need to be, you and I only need to be served by money to a certain level. After that, it's not about us anymore, but we still have this drive to continue to grow and grow and grow. It's because we want to serve others with our message and our purpose. So with that said, like you talked about the company culture, you talked about the being transparent, but also with the strengths of you being in sales. And really, it's not selling, it's serving at the end of the day. Do you find that most companies are broken? Like when you bring on a company, like you're an investor, right? You hire company, like I could hire you to take over my business and scale it.
That's right.
So with that said, do you believe that in order to get to that next level of scalability, it really comes down to sales, right? Doesn't it always come down to sales and marketing?
That is at the core for sure. Marketing. Most people suck at marketing, right? Like most people have outsourced their marketing and tried to get somebody else to do it. Like the one thing I love to share about marketing is the baby maker of your business, and you would never outsource your baby making, would you? Yeah.
Ooh, I've never heard it like that, but okay. Yeah, you make baby makings internally, and you understand that, right? By the way, just wait a second. I outsourced my baby making. I had to go through in vitro for my first child. So we insourced it the second time. We had to outsource it.
But it's not outsourced, right? Like you're using your stuff. You're using everything else, right? Like you may have gotten some enhancements, but you bring up a great point. Just like marketing, like it's okay to get enhancements, coaching, right? Like have someone team up with you, do things like that. But the fact of the matter is most business owners do not understand marketing, and they refuse to get educated in it, right? Like that is the number one. And I'm not talking sales, I'm talking marketing, right? Like getting people in your door to see your product. Sales is presenting and closing, right? Like those are two completely different things. And until you can understand marketing, you cannot scale your business, right? And then it's sales, right? Now I got people in the door. How do I capture these people, right? Whether it's online sales funnels or whatever it may be, over the phone, in person, retail, whatever. You got that. But then the next step is actually understanding your KPIs. Most people don't know their numbers. Most people don't know their gross profit margins. Most people don't know their fixed expenses. They're living on a cash basis. They're living like, okay, I have enough money in my bank account. I can spend X amount of dollars or invest or whatever. Like that is not a way to live. You need to understand your KPIs on a daily level. Key performance indicators is what I'm talking about. And daily level, weekly, monthly, quarterly. You got to have goals. You got to have ways to measure it, meetings set up in order to be able to analyze it. You got to bring in outside consultants, coaches that are going to help you get this kind of crap. And like that's why my business right now is so successful, is because people don't understand these things. And I can come in, and me and my team, we can teach it. We can also help the tech. We can do all these different things. But at the core of it, it's sales and marketing and KPIs. Like if you can get that stuff dialed in, you can typically scale. But with the caveat is you got to have a good culture and people got to be behind.
Right. Absolutely. And people do miss that as well. But whenever I have people come to me, I'm a wealth advisor, right? So we're solving their money problems. It's either an income problem, it's the wrong investment problem, or it's the wrong tax problem because they're paying too much in taxes. Like it's a puzzle, right? And a lot of times it's an income problem. And the income problem always is a sales and marketing first, right? Like I love to serve and sell. I love people, but I've always had a marketing problem myself. It's like I have purchased businesses. I have purchased exiting and financial advisors that are exiting the business because I'm like, that's the way I can buy in clients and bring them in, and I can buy 100 clients and start serving them, and they stick and they stay because we do transparent work. But it's really about that marketing. So that's why I wanted to ask you that, because it's so important. Figuring out the marketing piece.
Absolutely.
Which most of us don't do. By the way, my youngest daughter is studying marketing in college, and it's really inexpensive, but it's probably from the wrong people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. You and I will talk after, right? But yes, 100% agree. Marketing. So, Chris, let's go back to this, or let's move forward to this. You are an entrepreneur. It's all about growth and moving the needle the most. So what are you looking for? So our listeners know, and I can understand. What type of businesses are you looking to invest in, to scale, to exit as well? Like, tell us about that, so we really understand how to help you or get you in front of the right type of businesses as well.
Yeah. My buy box or investment box is 2 to 10 million in revenue, and that have healthy cash flow margins, like cash, not just EBITDA, not ad backs, right? Like, but at the end of the day, the company is producing cash. If I have a company that's in that range, I can scale that thing to 9 figures in less than 2 years. Like that's the craziness. And so like what we do is like such a no-brainer for anybody that's just kind of stuck in that range, because regardless of what you're doing, like I don't care if you're selling beehives, I don't care if you do solar, wealth management, anything. All businesses struggle with the same things, right? Like, and all business is essentially the same at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know how to come in and scale. Like I went in and helped a company that did baby moccasins. I helped them scale to $30 million a year before they were making $1,000 a month. Like that was several years ago. But like that is obviously not what my experience is in. But all business is the same, and so. That's the buy box. That's the focus. If you're not currently at that number, we're actually about to launch a weekly coaching where you can get on a weekly Zoom call with me and my team, and a bunch of other things. It's called Founder Acceleration. And we would love to have you be a part of that group. It's $500 a month, but definitely worth it if you're below that $2 million in revenue mark and you're wanting to scale up and you're wanting to learn from the best. Because the number one, when my life changed, like up until 2016, I had spent $1,000 here, $1,000 there, done the books and everything like that. But then I started to get serious and I started buying programs and I started spending $50,000, $100,000 on coaches and $10,000 to $30,000 on masterminds. When I got around people that were doing bigger and better things, like it just leveled up my thinking and leveled up my action taking. And like that's when things really changed. And so like that's if you're wanting to get any value from me, like that's how you get in my ecosystem. I hold high-end masterminds. I do all different kinds of cool, fun things. But yeah, that's where we're at.
Oh, I love that. You're speaking my language, Chris. And where can the listeners find you?
So easiest place, I'm at Chris Lee QB, like quarterback, on all social, Instagram, Facebook. I post a lot of like just novels on Facebook, and then just fun things on Instagram. A lot of highlights from my show. If you're not subscribed to, so I run a podcast and I interview super high level people, guys that have experienced 9, 10, 11 figure exits. It's called the Founder Podcast. I'm on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. YouTube has my smallest following. But yeah, I'm like number 50th on all of business podcasts on Apple. But yeah, that's where you can get, and I typically drop 2 episodes a week. So, nice. If you want to listen in and just get some free value, that's the spot to get some free value.
I love it. And let me just say again, it's not necessarily your followers or how popular you are on the social platforms. It's really about doing the right work to have the right type of wealth come in so you can live a wealthy life. So, right. Chris, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now you can access the first of its kind online digital wealth advisory platform called Grow It. Inside of Grow It, you're going to design your own customized wealth style plan where you align your spending to your savings so you can still live for today and plan for tomorrow. I'm going to teach you proper debt management, how to invest your money in alignment with your own personal financial goals, and how to reduce your taxes so you can maximize your wealth. Also, you're going to be able to have a one-on-one private session with a private wealth advisor so you can implement your financial plan, and then also have an opportunity to transfer over your investable assets to our recommended investment platform. The time is now for you to start living wealthy.